So on the 6th of January 2022, I tweeted publicly that Bitcoin's bull cycle is most likely over. It's probably going to be a good time to buy Bitcoin towards the end of 2022, 2023, and that the next moonshot would be in 2024. Now, since making that tweet, Bitcoin prices, as you can see from the screen here, has gone basically according to plan. It's gone down from 45K-ish to 20 grand under, and it's around these prices here right now, around the 17K, 20K range, that we are looking to buy into Bitcoin, add more of it, and look to profit as much as we can towards 2024, 2025. Now, how are we able to predict these movements and do it in a way that increases our profits much more than just buying onto Bitcoin and holding for dear life that prices will continue to go up? Well, that's what we're going to show you right here on this video, where I'm going to show you the tools and the strategies we use to time Bitcoin prices and also have targets. Where do we buy? Like, what price do we buy and what price do we sell to profit as much as we can? So before we begin, I must say, disclaimer, we are only sharing this for educational and entertainment purposes. It's not financial advice or legal advice. Please consult a qualified legal professional or financial professional advisor before doing anything based on this video. But that being said, I think that if you're able to apply some of the things that we're going to show you here, it does increase chances of seeing significantly better results than just buying randomly and hoping that you get the one thing that goes 10x in price and makes you an instant millionaire. Okay, so there's a couple of things that we need to do. The first thing here is I've got in front of me, I'm just going to blow up my screen a bit, is something called TradingView, which is a free charting software. And what that does is it allows you to plot the price of Bitcoin so that you can see how prices move over the past and into the future. Okay, so as you can see, as of me making this video right now, prices are around $20,000-ish. Okay, you can see there, ignoring my drawings, yeah? The chart that I would recommend adding is something called the Blx Chart, which is the Brave New Coin Index. That just gives you a price history that takes you all the way back to when Bitcoin first released to the public and started selling. And as you can see, the price of Bitcoin has had a general, nice uptrend that's beaten every single asset class out there. It's beaten gold, it's beaten crude oil, it's beaten NASDAQ, S&P 500s. You're better off buying Bitcoin compared to buying property. Like, you name it, it's beaten every single asset class out there. But the thing is, okay, so we've made a conclusion based on this data that Bitcoin is probably more profitable than buying something like gold. This is Bitcoin versus gold. This is Bitcoin versus NASDAQ. Okay, you can see every single chart, Bitcoin has always gone up and up and up. Okay, Bitcoin versus S&P 500 and so forth. I can keep doing this all day. Okay, there's no other asset that's done better. But it doesn't give us information when to buy or when to sell, does it? How is it that we're able to predict that, hey, I think Bitcoin's actually going to go down for the rest of this year, and then we're going to be buying or starting to buy towards the end half of this year and into 2023? Okay, well, there's a couple of reasons for this. The first one is to do with cycles. Okay, most markets have a cycle. Now, for example, if you look at copper, or let's say property in Australia, for example, property tends to have a 10-year cycle, 7 to 10 year cycle, where it'll go flat and then up over 7 to 10 year, on the 7th to 10th year, and then flat again and so forth. So a lot of markets have cycles. Bitcoin is one of them that also has a cycle. And if you look at, okay, well, how long are these cycles? That gives us something called the time dimension of Bitcoin, right? It has a time dimension to it. And it looks like this. You can see that from the lowest price, it'll make a new all-time high price over here. It'll do a very sharp correction down, establish a new low, but it's higher than the previous low. So we call this a higher low, higher low, okay? And then it'll go sideways between the high and low that's just been posted before breaking and then returning to a new all-time high, making a new low, right? Going sideways and then doing that same process over again. over and over and over again. And we're just about to do that part right there. Okay, so you can see that very clearly there is a pretty consistent cycle with Bitcoin. And, you know, removing these drawings now, it's now about calculating, okay, well, how long are these cycles? So the first high was in mid 2011, June 2011. The low thereafter is on the November-ish 2011, okay? Now, excluding this first one, every other one, if you look at the next high, that next high was in November 2013, moving towards December 2013. The low after that, so this one is November 2013. The low, which is here, is January 2015. That's 14 months apart from high to low, okay? The next high after that is in December 2017. The next low after that is in December 2018. That's exactly 12 months from high to low, okay? So from high to low, which is where we are now, this is clearly the high, to the low, it's gonna take more or less about a year. And that's why, you know, according to my tweet, end of 2022 is the target to buy, because that's roughly a year after the high was posted. It could be November, it could be October, it could be December 2022, it could be January 2023, who knows? Okay, so that gives you the time between the high to the next best time to buy Bitcoin. Okay, well, okay, so let's talk about how long does it take between one high to the next high. Excluding this first cycle, okay, you can see that every other high from here to here, this is roughly 4 years. Okay, from here to here is roughly 4 years. So there's this ongoing 4-year cycle theory with Bitcoin where it basically says each all-time high is 4 years apart. And it's even like, if we want to go even more specifically, like a year after Bitcoin's halving date, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Okay, so if we're talking about time dimension of Bitcoin, clearly there is a cycle that you can clearly see, and that is to say that the next all-time high is 4 years after the last one ish. Okay, the next low after the all-time high takes roughly 12 months after the last all-time high. Okay, now I'm just gonna space this out a bit and make it easier to read on the screen. Okay, but more or less that's the general conclusion that we can make from the time side of things. And that's why we weren't very bullish on Bitcoin once it broke this 45k area here, somewhere there. Okay, since then we've been basically taking profits and waiting until around about now. Actually, this is like perfect time to get into Bitcoin. Okay, so that's the time dimension answer. The other reason why, you know, we're buying now in Bitcoin as opposed to November, December, is that there's a price dimension to Bitcoin as well. Now, if I remove these drawings for a second, there we go. So if we look at the price of Bitcoin and how it's moved over these years, it's kind of like, you can see here from 1 cent it went to $32. That means every $1,000 you spent on Bitcoin back then would have turned to $3.2 million. Recently, this last cycle, from a low of $3,150, it went to a high of $69,000. That's like a 20x on your money. So if you had $1,000, you'd have 20,000 from this last cycle last year. But what we want to do is we want to plot, okay, well, where's the next high? We know that, okay, the next high is roughly 4 years from the end of 2017. So that's the, the end of 2021, which was the last one. So that puts the next high around about the end of 2025, if everything goes to plan, yeah? How high is it going to be? Is it going to be $500,000? Is it going to be $1 million per Bitcoin? We don't know, right? Well, what if we had some indicators or some tools to help us plan how high Bitcoin will go? Now, my personal favorite, which is, again, it's not financial advice, but this is just what I personally use, is something called the Bitcoin Logarithmic Growth Curve. This is available for free on TradingView. You just search it up on the indicators menu. It's the one by the Puma. Okay, there's a couple of them if you type it in. There's more than one, but the one that I use is the one by the Puma. Okay. And so if I activate that one, I'll add a new one in actually, just so that you can see what it looks like brand new. It looks like this, okay, straight out the box. And it gives you a pretty rough idea of where the selling zone is and where the buying zone is. So every time it hits the red zone, sell Bitcoin, or even if it doesn't hit the red zone, near the red zone, you can start selling. And when it's in the blue zone or near that blue zone area, you can start buying and just keep buying until it leaves the blue zone, right? So that gives you a pretty good idea of when to buy and when to sell, okay? Which means that clearly, according to this indicator, without any extra changes to the settings, this is a good time to buy. It's in the blue zone, okay? According to the indicator, okay? But that said, there are a few customizations I'd like to make to this indicator because I think it just gives a better reading of tops and bottoms. If you can see here, right out the box, it doesn't give you the exact highs and bottoms very nicely. It goes over the red zone. It goes just at the top of the red zone. This one goes under the red zone top. And then this one doesn't even hit the red zone, right? So what I like to do is I like to customize it by, clicking this little button here, settings icon, and changing the top curve intercept to 1.07, the top curve slope to 0.00077, okay? Bottom curve slope to minus 3.7. And the bottom curve to 0.001335. Those are the settings that I personally like to use for myself. You don't have to use the exact same ones, but this is just sharing what I do. And you can see that, the tops of the each cycle are plotted much more nicely. The only exception being this last one that just happened. This is the first cycle where it did not hit the top of the red zone area. That's why if you look at my Twitter account, at the historical ones back in November, December, I was still aiming for around about $150,000 per Bitcoin because it hadn't hit the target yet. But once it passed December and even mid-December, I was already saying, like, this is either a very late cycle or, it's not going to hit its price target. Now, once it broke 45K, we're like, yeah, okay, it's very unlikely it's going to hit its top cycle because time dimension says it's already ended. But in any case, it still gives a very good idea of roughly when to sell and when to buy, okay? Which is every time it nears the red zone area, sell. Every time it's in the blue zone area, start buying, okay? That being said, if we use this indicator and start dragging it through to 2025 and say, okay, well, it's very likely that it's going to go very near or exceed this red zone, the bottom part of it anyway. If we draw an imaginary line there and take it to, say, November 2025, that gives us a target of around about $600,000-ish per Bitcoin. Now, in reality, it's very hard to time the exact tops and bottoms. But if we start easing out, start selling as it approaches the red zone area, sell some at 400,000, sell some at 450,000, sell some at 500,000, and so forth, then I'm pretty sure we can both agree that that's still a very nice profit compared to buying it at $20,000 today. Wouldn't you agree? Okay, so can you sort of see how doing it this way, we can ignore all the media out there, all the news that's saying, oh, Bitcoin's finally going to zero after the 100th time, ignore all that news and just keep it to, well, clearly there's a pattern and the pattern has been working well for a very long time. Until this pattern is completely invalidated, then it should keep respecting it. Okay, and so that's the main primary reason why right now we're talking in early July 2022. Okay, I've actually got the tweet out here. If you scroll all the way to the top, this was dated on the 18th of June. I said Bitcoin made history. It's made a new low that broke the last all-time high. It's a good time to buy. So we've been buying since 18th of June. And yeah, we don't care if prices go any further down. We're just holding on to it from here because this is clearly a cheaper price than what Bitcoin will be in 2025. Right? So you're welcome. I've just shown you how to make quite a bit of money. If we take, say, the low of $20,000 and plot it to, say, $500,000, that's a 25x on your money. Okay, now that's pretty good. You're not going to get returns like that from any other asset class. Property doesn't do that. Shares doesn't go up that fast unless you get lucky with the next Netflix. Deposit bearing, interest bearing deposits earn basically nothing. It's much better to put your money into Bitcoin, and specifically into Bitcoin mining as well, if you're into that sort of thing, because Bitcoin mining is just another way to basically add more Bitcoin than what you could get if you just bought Bitcoin with your money. So if you had like $10,000, I could buy such amount of Bitcoin, say half a Bitcoin, through Bitcoin mining. You do it right, and you should be able to get, say, like 1 Bitcoin or something like that. That's an illustration, not an exact calculation. Okay, but basically it's a good time to enter into the market right now. And so doing it this way, it removes a lot of emotion out of your decision-making processes. You can see that this is more longer term. We're talking years instead of weeks or days, but it is something that, while you're doing a side hustle, while you're working a day job, while you're living life and enjoying life, you don't have to watch the screen 24/7. You can just buy when it's in the blue zone, sell when it's close to or in the red zone, and make sure you make a profit out of Bitcoin. Hopefully that helps you add more money to your bottom line, help you become more wealthy. We'll be sharing a lot more tips like this, and in topics related to money, related to investments and businesses, on this channel as well. So if you like what you see, then please subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment if you have anything that sticks out from this video for you, or if you want to suggest a future topic. Until then, we'll see each other in the next video, and bye for now. Hey guys, if you enjoyed that video, don't forget to check out these other videos right here.